Hi, welcome to the Shepherd's Rest Doc Talk. This is episode 71B.
I'm Cam and this is Julie.
Yes, this is the Haftarah discussion of this week's Torah portion. And man, is it good. It's kind of short, but there's a lot of meat in it.
Oh man,
yes,
it's
found. Yes, it's found in 1 Kings 1 through. Well, there's a discrepancy. We're going to go 1 through 44. Okay, we're going to go all the way to 44. That's not, if you go look up the Torah portion, it's 1 through 40. Some people only go through 34, some go to 36, but we're going to go all the way to 44.
More is better when dealing with the word.
Well, because it's considered the Messianic. Going all the way to 40, and going to 44 is the Julie. Because
I like that one. Like
because I read to
better.
44 and went, we can't stop there. We got to go all the way to 44, and there's a reason why, and you'll see that when we get there.
Okay.
All right, so basically this story is all about how Solomon rises to his kingship.
Okay.
How he becomes the king. When you read the stories in 1st and 2nd Samuel about David, and then all of his adventures, and all of his wives and all of his kids, and you get a big dose of, wow, they were kind of screwed up. Right?
So would you say that was a dysfunctional family?
It was, but the Lord used it, right? I mean,
because he's not limited.
No, and all things work together.
That's right.
I believe that David, being a type and shadow of Messiah, and his wives and sons being a type and shadow of the churches, it fits.
Yeah.
It fits perfectly. So, in this story, David is very old, and he is about to die. And
is this when he gets the lady?
Yes.
The maid to come?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it starts off in 1, it says, and the sovereign David was old, advanced in years. This is how it hooks with your Torah portion, with the original Torah portion, because in 24 it says Abraham was old and advanced in years.
Yeah.
So they hook it right in. Now, of course, there are many other reasons why it hooks. You know, you've got Isaac, you got a whole bunch of sons, right? And then you've got Isaac, which is the chosen one, and about his story. Right. Well, here you have Solomon and about his story. And King David was old, advanced in years, and they covered him with garments, but he could not get warm. That really kind of reminded me of last week about the young boy that died, but when Elisha laid on him, he got warm, because way they compensate for his coldness, is they go and find a young maiden who's never been with a man, and she's to be his companion. She's to be his wife. You know, they never consummate the marriage, and he's just completely unaware that she's even there.
Wait, I didn't realize she's to be the wife. Really? I didn't know that.
Well, they treat her like one. She's to be.
That's true.
She's to be.
I wonder if she came out of his harem.
No, they searched all of Israel looking for her, and she's a Shulamite woman, like the Shulamite woman from Song of Solomon. This is probably where he got the idea when he wrote it, right? So what we see next, starting in 5, is David's son Adoniah. He is the 4th son. He is the oldest living son, because if you know the stories, you know the other 3 have died, or they've been killed, basically, by either each other or someone else. All right,
for the others.
So Adoniah takes all of the people who are on the fence with David. They're not really loyal to David. David doesn't really have that loyalty to them either. But he takes them because he knows that they'll be on his side, and then declares himself the king. He says, I'm the king. And he invites everybody, all the children, all the nobles, except for a small band of people. Now, to make a long story short, when David hears about this, that small band of people are the ones who take Solomon and anoint him to be the king. But there's so much more happening in here that's really cool as a pattern that we see it playing out for the end times. For example, Adoniah would be considered like the Antichrist, right? So the Antichrist is going to be, we can get a clue, probably from among the people. He's from
in
David's
the
family. Yes, he's in the family, and to the naked eye, it looks like he should be able to rise to kingship. There's 3 reasons why Adoniah felt empowered to declare himself the king. The first reason is he was never disciplined by David. David failed to discipline him. The second, now we know that the Lord whom he loves, he disciplines, right?
Right.
You know, if we're going to rule and reign with him, we don't want to be Adoniah. We want to be like Solomon,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he never disciplined Adoniah. Adoniah was very charming and good looking. So he, to the eyes, he looked good, right? And I think of a lot of churches, people, they don't even know what they speak of. They don't even know what they talk about. They don't know what they teach. But man, they look good.
Yeah.
And they got it all together on the outside. And look at all these people who are on their side and support them.
I'm saying, and they're the ones that bring in we're not sure. You know, when you said that, I thought, I can't think of what the scripture is, but the one where, you know, if you deal casually with me, I'll deal casually with you.
Yeah.
And it's those are the ones that he so easily got.
Right. They're swayed to and fro, you know, whatever the new doctrine is, whatever the new way of doing things, you know, whatever looks good. But he was, like I said, he was very good looking, and it stood to reason that he would be the king because he was next in line.
Right.
So it made sense.
Right, because the other three were dead. Oh, wow. So that's just like Jacob's kids.
Yes. It made sense that he would be the next in line for the kingship because he was the oldest, the oldest living. And Solomon was way down there. He's like 8. I think he's son 8 that was born to, don't quote me on that. I think it's either 8 or 9. Yeah. And that is including the one that died.
Yeah, his brother.
Bathsheba's, yes. Now, we touched a little bit on this in Cam's. While David had many wives and concubines, there are 7 wives mentioned.
Yeah, that was
and
really cool.
Each one has one son that's mentioned of importance. I think of the 7 churches, right?
Yeah.
You know, we know that David is foreshadowing Yeshua. So Yeshua needs a bride, right? You know, there needs to be a bride. So, but there's 7 churches. We know that from Revelation. So you see the different characteristics in all these, and I find it interesting that Adoniah is the 4th son. Well, who's the 4th church? Thyatira. No, Thyatira.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Who, if you look at the history and who Thyatira really is, they're the ones that claim they're the universal church.
Right, absolutely.
They're it. They're the king.
Yeah.
You know, they're the authority here on earth.
They have
taken the authority.
Self-initiated and are very proud to say that we have self-initiated.
Right. But Solomon was the one that was promised by Yahweh at his birth. Nathan saw it. Nathan knew that Yahweh said, this is the one I love. This is the one that's going to carry on the throne. Right. And we know that Yeshua comes from, you know, Solomon's line, the kingly line. Right. And then Nathan is his brother by Bathsheba.
Right.
And Mary comes from that line. We know that from the Luke version. So I don't know. I saw that as a really interesting pattern with the 7 wives and the 7 churches.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And how Solomon's way down there on the list because, well, that would make sense if he's the 8th because he wouldn't be part of the 7 because he's going to come out of all of them, right? Or the bride will come out of all of them and make up the...
Yeah, but just for clarification, that the 7 and the 8 coming out, that has to do with the heads, not the brides in Revelation.
Oh, I know, but Solomon, if he was the 8th son, you know, you have the 7 churches, but only the overcomers are going to be part of that millennium or the eternal. When I was going more on the 8th day, not the 8 heads. Okay. But hey, that makes sense about the beast because he's going to be like the, you know.
And Solomon is considered to be the perfect type of the Antichrist. So.
You know, when I was reading about Solomon this week, instead of seeing him, I know we've said that about the whole Antichrist thing, and I'm not going to argue that, but I saw it more like Solomon is the flesh, while Yeshua is the spirit. Right, you know.
Or if you did David, and David is the spirit part, and Solomon is the flesh.
And as great and mighty and wondrous as Solomon was in the flesh, he still can't meet the criteria for the Messiah.
And you know
However, the Messiah, Yeshua, who is born of the Spirit, can.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I just thought Solomon's literally born of the flesh because he's with Bathsheba.
Right.
I mean, hello.
Born of the flesh.
Yes.
Hello. It doesn't get more flesh than that.
No.
As you read this story, if you go on and read this, you know, Nathan comes to Bathsheba and says, look, you have to go to David because Adoniah has already been announced king. He's already taken the kingship. You know, he's already slaughtered the sheep and the goats. He's done all the things that you would do, except he wasn't anointed with the oil.
Right.
All right. But he is the self-proclaiming king, right? So Bathsheba goes before David, and then Nathan comes in. Bathsheba leaves. Then Nathan retells the story. Same story that Bathsheba does. But they sent Bathsheba in first because they weren't sure if maybe David did decide to make Adoniah the king
instead of,
So they sent Bathsheba like a feeler. You go feel him out because he's the one that told you that he was going to be, that Solomon was going to be the king.
That's right.
So you go in, and then I'll come in when he seems to agree. I'll come in after that, and then I'll take over.
Way.
Right.
Yeah.
She's going to pave the way.
Yeah.
So she does. She goes in and paves the way. David listens. Nathan sees that it's safe to go in. So Nathan comes. Bathsheba leaves. And David never reveals who the true king is to Nathan. He doesn't reveal it. He only says, okay, bring Bathsheba back to me. Then Bathsheba comes back, and then he reveals, no, I told you Solomon would be the king. I thought of the bride today.
Yeah.
He doesn't reveal it to all the prophets.
Right.
He only reveals it to the bride. It's only the bride that says, wait a minute, we got this Messiah thing all wrong.
Yeah.
Yeshua looks like this, not like Adoniah. Right, he doesn't look like Adoniah. He looks like Solomon, right?
Yeah.
And so he reveals it to Bathsheba, and then he says, now, go get Nathan, go get Zadok, who we know is the everlasting priesthood.
That's right. He's the line.
Go get Zadok and go anoint him as the king. So starting in 33, he says, and the sovereign said to them, so David said to them, take with you the servants of your master, and you shall have Solomon my son ride on my own mule, and take him down to Gihon. Then Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet shall anoint him sovereign over Israel. And then down in 35, I find this very telling. He says, you shall come up after him, and he shall come and sit on my throne, and he shall reign in my place, for I have commanded him to be ruler over Israel and Judah. Okay, well, they're not split.
Right.
It's an absolute foreshadow of Yeshua ruling over the northern and the southern kingdoms. So basically, they do all of this just as David commands them to do. Mm-hmm. And then we see in 40, it says, and all the people came up after him, and the people played the flutes and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth was split by the noise.
Oh.
Yes. And I thought, ooh, big earthquake here.
Yeah.
But they anointed him with oil, so you have the oil. They blew the shofars, and then they all shouted, great, is King Solomon. Solomon, long live King Solomon. Whatever they shouted, right? Well, that reminds me of the Feast of Trumpets. Yeah. That's what we do. We blow the shofar, and we shout for joy. So if we're not doing the feasts, Yeshua is going to fulfill. He's going to be patterned after this story right here.
So maybe there is going to be a big earthquake.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
On the Feast of Trumpets.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Hey, well, don't you know that start the ball rolling?
Now, I just read 40, which is where it ends this week, but I want to read 43 and 44. So Jonathan answered and said to Adoniah. So basically, Jonathan comes in. Adonai's like, oh, you're a great man. You're bringing me great news. What is that noise out there that I hear? But he says it's not great news.
Not for you.
Let me tell you. He says, no, our master sovereign David has made Solomon sovereign, which is king. And the sovereign has sent with him Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet and Benaiah son of Jehoiada and the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and they gave him ride on the sovereign's mule. And I just want to touch on the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and because those were actually Gentiles who were loyal to David. And lived among the Philistines they lived among the Philistines whom David had treaties with. So they were loyal to David, and he actually, Benaiah, he was the bodyguard over them, and he's in this group as well. So he's bringing them with him. Right. Yes. So the Gentiles who are loyal to David. Yes. They are welcomed in, and they're present at the time that Solomon is named king, and I just think that that's great. But what I saw kind of patternish here is that David's still alive. Yeah. And that's very unusual for
Right, for
someone to be anointed
usually it's
king
only
while
after
he's still
they
alive.
die, then
Yes.
it goes over.
So it kind of tells me that you're going to have Yeshua present, the body that's almost dead, right? Like Sardis, present. You've got while he is anointed king, but you've got the brides, you've got all the players are here.
This really does line up with this week's
I know.
portion.
I know,
I mean,
yes.
with the brides, and then it was interesting when you were saying, okay, it made me think. Not only did the bride or the bride see, oh, that's the bridegroom, that's Messiah, like you said earlier. We're seeing how Messiah should look, but at the same time, in this week's Torah portion, the same time Rebecca saw Isaac, so did the virgins with her. Yeah. So did her women. They all saw him at the same time, but only one had the role of the bride, and the others had the role of, well, still significance of, they still got to participate in all of it, just in a little different role. And
I also think Abishag is very significant here.
Oh yeah, well,
I'm
like
not
you said,
sure. It's like the Gentile bride coming in,
well,
and Bathsheba was there from the beginning, Israel, but Abishag's been brought into the family, and nobody knew it.
Well, that was my point.
Until Bathsheba walks in, she's like, Abishag, who is this?
Right.
Who's this new woman?
He didn't know. He's laying in bed, and boom, there she is. I mean, he wasn't expecting. Isaac's walking, and then they show up. He's not like
boom.
Oh,
there
yeah.
She,
I mean,
my bride.
There was literally this. It's time. Oh, well, hello. Matthew 24 talks about that, where no one knows the time of the hour, and I'm telling you, I think a part of that's when the bride comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isaac didn't know. David didn't know.
Right.
I mean, I just see that pattern of they know it's going to be sometime, but they don't know the day or the hour. There's no idea of, oh, da-da, this is it.
Right. And I think that's the one thing that kind of made me go, ooh, we need to pay attention to this Abishag woman because, like I said, she is keeping him warm.
Right.
That's her job because he's almost dead. They can't keep him warm. He's like a dead king,
right?
And she's working and tending to him day and night, trying to keep it going, but it's still not doing much good. But
she's still loyal and faithful in doing that.
That's right. She's doing what she's supposed to do, and it probably preserved him up until the time where he could say, "No, Solomon is the king."
That's what I was going to say.
It makes me think of Philadelphia. They have little strength. They're barely holding on. Yeah. But they're the ones that are the loyal and the faithful, and they're guarding the word.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah,
this
it was
week.
good.
Saw a lot of foreshadowing here, and it's making me understand where not only I fit, but where we fit in this time. And it's so easy for us to be like, we're the bride. But you see all these different stories, and we're not all the bride, not all the bride. There's many players, but the bride is very insignificant in the end time until the end, basically is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. She's very significant at the end, but until then, like you said, veiled, no one's really going to know who that is.
I'm sorry, I know we're ending, but you just said something critical, and that was that bride's not really, quote, important until the end.
Yeah.
And then something new begins. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's exactly what we have with Isaac. That's exactly what we have with New Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't think she's not a player. Well, if the bride's in New Jerusalem and her maidens, and whoever else is getting the party ready for one day, while everyone else is for 1,000 years, she really does. I mean, it's kind of like, who? I mean, she seems so insignificant, not even there. Yet, if she's the one that's going to complete him, to fully do what he's supposed to do.
I mean, I don't believe that David could have done what he did to announce Solomon unless Abishag was there tending to him and keeping him warm and just keeping him going. Come on, you can do it. You can do it.
That's right.
Keeping him warm until he... Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. We will see you next week with episode 72.
Wow.
Looking good for 72.
Yeah.
All right. We hope you have a fantastic week. Shalom.